China's construction iron army nearly wiped out amid real estate crisis. China's inflation is back to zero, officials to release money and raise prices. A Chinese citizen chose to stay in Israel, at least no scrambling for food. It's all covered in today's China Truths. China's construction iron army nearly wiped out amid real estate crisis. After the collapse of China's real estate market, every aspect of the construction industry was directly affected. The surplus of steel and cement led to price wars that extended from China to overseas markets, impacting global-related industries to different extents. China's construction iron army almost completely wiped out. Within the construction industry, a common saying is, to gauge the state of China's construction, look at Jiangsu. To understand Jiangsu's construction, look at Nantong. According to the Epoch Times, Nantong's construction industry has consistently held the top position in terms of total output value among Chinese prefecture-level cities. In the 2021 list of the top 250 global international contractors, four Nantong companies made the cut, with a total output value surpassing 1 trillion yuan, constituting a quarter of Jiangsu province's overall construction industry output. However, a recent interview by the Epoch Times with a senior construction engineer in Guangdong, who goes by the pseudonym Lei Ming, has revealed the dire situation in this industry. Construction firms in Jiangsu have gone bankrupt. This has made a significant impact in the industry for the past couple of years. The Nantong construction industry, once referred to as China's construction iron army, has nearly completely collapsed. In 2022, according to official data, a whopping 336 Chinese construction companies filed for reorganization bankruptcy. This worsened the crisis in the construction materials industry. Steel and cement are in severe oversupply as development stalls. At the same time, price wars within China have extended overseas and led to inevitable price wars. Cement industry in chaos. Amidst the challenges facing the cement industry, reports from both domestic and international sources paint a sobering picture. According to the China Cement Association, 2022 saw a sluggish annual demand for cement, marked by a significant drop in annual production to 2.13 billion tons, a decrease of 10.5% compared to the previous year, marking the lowest production volume in a decade. Adding to the complexity, the price of cement experienced fluctuations, initially falling nationwide in September before an upward trend in October. The Cement People's Network, a prominent industry website, emphasized the turmoil, reporting in late September, "At present, the cement industry is in chaos." On a global scale, data from the European Cement Association, CEMBUREAU, revealed that in 2022, China accounted for 51.5% of the world's 4.1 billion tons of cement production. This figure, though significant, represented a decrease from 2021 when China's share of global cement production stood at an even higher 55.9%. Despite its dominant position in global production, the bulk of China's cement output is used domestically, with relatively limited exports that have a modest impact on the worldwide cement supply and prices. According to insights from China's Jian Consulting, China's cement export volume in 2022 was 10.9% lower than in the previous year, primarily due to reduced international demand, particularly in the United States. Additionally, China's cement has maintained a higher price point on the international market in recent years, making it less competitive. Conversely, the steel industry faces challenges brought about by a significant decline in demand for construction steel, which had historically accounted for a substantial portion of China's steel consumption. The impact of COVID-19 lockdowns, combined with the collapse of China's real estate market, has led to a sharp reduction in market demand for construction steel. By August 2022, as many as 892 steel companies were grappling with severe losses, and by June 2023, the price of threaded steel in China had dropped from 4,600 yuan, approximately $657, to 3,600 yuan, about $514, per ton. The repercussions of this downturn are evident as numerous steel companies have been forced into bankruptcy, further exacerbating the challenges faced by the real estate construction sector. As a result, many steel companies have gone bankrupt. The steel industry crisis has further slowed real estate construction. Oversupply and steel dumping wreak havoc in Southeast Asian markets. In stark contrast to the relatively contained influence of China's cement industry, the country's steel sector continues to roil global markets. China, grappling with an anemic economy and a surplus of steel, is increasingly exporting its steel products. As reported by Reuters, the country is on track to register its highest steel export volume since 2016 this year. Notably, China's major steel enterprises have resorted to undercutting prices significantly, inflicting severe repercussions on nations in Southeast Asia with strong trade connections to China, particularly Vietnam. A June report published in the Vietnam Investment Review sheds light on the matter, stating, China's strategy of boosting exports through substantial price reductions to below $1,000 per ton has exacerbated the mounting pressures on the Vietnamese steel industry. This approach has prompted Vietnam's Formosa Hot Tin Steel Corporation to implement 2 price reductions within just 6 months, resulting in a cumulative decrease of $82 per ton. The Hoa Phat Steel Mill in Vietnam has also felt the impact, witnessing a decrease in prices to as low as $70 per ton. Notably, the Taiwanese steel market has also been hit by the tactic. Taiwan's leading steel company, China Steel Corporation, CSC, has been forced to lower its prices to counter low-priced imports from China. On September 26, CSC's chairman, Wang Chaotong, expressed that the company faces its most formidable challenges in its history. These challenges stem from the real estate crisis and the abrupt decline in demand. In a communication to employees, Mr. Wang said that the situation this year is worse than the slump in 2020. China's inflation is back to zero, officials to release money and raise prices. Data released by the National Bureau of Statistics of China on October 13 showed that the Consumer Price Index, CPI, which measures inflation, had zero growth in September. There is also a lot of discussion about China's falling into deflation, and its economic prospects are not good. China's CPI remained flat in September. Data from the Statistics Bureau showed that the CPI increased by 0% year-on-year in September. It was the second zero growth this year after June. It shows that as consumer confidence is sluggish, China is still on the verge of deflation. Data show that China's Producer Price Index, PPI, fell by 2.5% year-on-year in September. Both CPI and PPI inflation indicators were slightly lower than market expectations. China's CPI increased by 0.1% year-on-year in August, turning from -0.3% in July to positive growth, while PPI shrank by 3% in August. In September, food prices increased by 0.3%, or 0.2 percentage points lower from the previous month. Non-food prices increased by 0.2%, the same as last month. The price of industrial consumer goods increased by 0.5%, or 0.1 percentage point higher from the previous month. Affected by the rise in international oil prices, domestic gasoline prices increased by 2.4%. Service prices fell by 0.1% after increasing 0.1% in the previous month. Dong Lijuan, a senior statistician at the National Bureau of Statistics of China, said that the consumer market continued to recover in September. However, affected by the higher base in the same period last year, the annual growth turned to flat. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics of China also showed that exports fell by 6.2% year-on-year in September, an improvement from the 8.8% decline in August. Analysts expected an annual decline of 7.6%. Imports also fell by 6.2% year-on-year, which was better than the 7.3% contraction in August, but slightly worse than expected. Despite this, Chinese officials still say that the Chinese economy is resilient and is expected to reach the official annual gross domestic product (GDP) growth target of 5% this year. Reuters, citing Zhang Jiwei, chief economist of Shanghai Baoyin Asset Management, pointed out that zero CPI growth shows that deflationary pressure in China is still a real risk to the economy. Without a significant boost from fiscal support, domestic demand recovery will not be strong. The impact of real estate damage on consumer confidence continues to affect household demand. Why is deflation a problem for China? Most advanced economies around the world see a consumer boom when COVID-19 pandemic restrictions end. People who have saved money during the pandemic are willing to start spending again, and various businesses are also working hard to meet consumer needs. If demand price increases encounter a lack of supply, such as the increase in energy prices caused by the Russia-Ukraine war, it will lead to inflation. However, this has not happened in China. Analysts believe that China's economy is in danger of falling into deflation based on China's CPI data. Alicia Garcia Herrero, a visiting professor at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, told the BBC, "This shows that China's internal demand is very weak, and demand from other parts of the world is also weakening, which is very worrying." He added, "Deflation will not help China's economy. The debt problem is going to get heavier." None of this is good news. Why is deflation a problem? This could affect Chinese corporate profits and public consumption, subsequently affecting the already high unemployment rate. It may also lead to weakening demand in China, the world's major market, and impact global exports in energy, production materials, food, and other aspects. Ishwar Prasad, a professor of trade policy and economics at Cornell University, said that the most important factor for China's recovery is to rebuild the confidence of investors and consumers. The professor said, "What's really important is whether the government can get the private sector to regain confidence so that households can go out and spend more instead of saving more. Business should start to invest, and that hasn't happened yet." Chinese officials promote inflation with both hands, pump money and raise prices. Financial data released by the People's Bank of China on October 13 showed that in September, loans in yuan increased by 2.3 trillion yuan, the increase in social financing scale was 4.1 trillion yuan, 563.8 billion yuan more than the same period last year. In addition, at the end of September, the balance of broad money, M2, was 289.6 trillion yuan, a year-on-year increase of 10.3%. According to a report by China's official media Securities Times on October 14, Wang Qing, chief macro analyst of Oriental Jincheng, predicts that the credit easing process will continue until the end of the year, and new credit and social financing will increase year-on-year in October. It mainly depends on the macroeconomic and property market trends before the end of the year, and the possibility of another reduction in policy interest rates in the fourth quarter cannot be completely ruled out. Next, structural monetary policy tools will focus on targeting weak links in the national economy such as small and micro enterprises, as well as key areas such as technological innovation and green development. It is expected that the medium-term lending facility will be significantly increased in October and the reserve requirement ratio may be cut again in the fourth quarter. The reserve requirement ratio, or the deposit reserve ratio, simply put, means that banks must hand over a certain proportion of deposits to the central bank for safekeeping, and the ratio of deposit reserves to total bank deposits is the deposit reserve ratio. After the reserve requirement ratio is cut, banks and other financial institutions have more funds to use. The People's Bank of China lowered the deposit reserve ratio for financial institutions by 0.25 percentage points on September 15, releasing more than 500 billion yuan into the financial system. It is worth noting that if the money multiplier, or the multiple relationship between money supply and base money, is taken into account, the resulting broad money supply increase may reach 4 trillion yuan. China's economic downturn has reduced people's willingness to consume, and has also frustrated the authorities' intention to stimulate domestic demand and promote consumption. Judging from the remarks of the People's Bank of China, it is prepared to push prices up and promote consumption. According to information released on the website of the Central Bank of China, the regular meeting of its Monetary Policy Committee for the third quarter of 2023 was recently held in Beijing. The meeting analyzed the domestic and international economic and financial situations. The meeting pointed out that the current external environment is becoming more complex and severe, international economic trade and investment are slowing down, inflation is still high, and interest rates in developed countries will continue to remain high. It is worth noting that it also mentioned the need to promote the rebound of low prices and keep prices at a reasonable level. Previously, the People's Bank of China's statement was probably to stabilize prices and protect people's basic living standards, but now it has publicly stated that it will take all measures to promote rising prices. Scholars believe that this is a signal that officials will push for price increases in the future. A Chinese citizen chose to stay in Israel, at least no scrambling for food. Chinese citizens in Israel have been confronted with what they describe as the most horrific moment of their lives amidst escalating tensions in the Middle East. In contrast to the dramatic evacuations portrayed in popular Chinese patriotic films like Homecoming, 2022, there is no such rescue operation awaiting them. It is known that there are around 6,000 Chinese nationals to engage in construction-related jobs in Israel following a 2017 agreement between China and Israel. One individual, Yang Ming, who chose to use a pseudonym, had been working in Ashkelon, a city situated on the Mediterranean coast, merely 8 miles north of the Gaza Strip border. When the conflict between Hamas and Israel erupted over a week ago, Ashkelon bore the brunt of rocket attacks. Yang Ming informed a reporter from the Epoch Times on October 11 that he and other Chinese nationals didn't dare leave their homes. Mr. Yang further said that, since the outbreak of the conflict, the Chinese embassy in Israel had sent only one notice warning of danger. Yang said that they had no intention of seeking assistance from the embassy. As we reported earlier, Hainan Airlines, the sole Chinese airline offering direct flights from Israel, abruptly canceled all flights when the conflict erupted. At the same time, Chinese citizens received a frosty response from the Chinese ambassador, saying find their own way. The Epoch Times attempted to contact the Chinese embassy in Israel without success. Meanwhile, Ms. Mao Ning from the Foreign Ministry advised Chinese nationals stranded in Israel to return to China on commercial flights as soon as possible. She noted that commercial flights between China and Israel are still operational. In light of their current circumstances, Mr. Yang expressed the belief that it might be safer for him to remain in Israel. He holds the view that, in Israel, the government will, at the very least, endeavor to protect him and fellow citizens. He doesn't have the same confidence that his home country will ensure a safe return to China, which will be a complicated and perilous journey. Further, he remarks, he is not seeing the panic he would expect in China in a similar situation. Mr. Yang said, the current situation is relatively calm in Israel, and there is no panic, no increase in goods prices in the supermarkets, no scrambling for food. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.